Hello and welcome to The Honest Path with Jim and John. I'm Jim, he's John. We're a father and son writing team who are on a mission to connect young men and the people who love them into community with each other, into resources that help them, and to really tackle the challenges that are facing men in today's world. So we're glad you're a part of this and welcome, welcome, welcome. Today it's Valentine's week, John. So you got to turn on Mr. Romance over there in Tenino, Washington. And we thought for Valentine's week, we would do our 1024, which you received on Tuesday, on women and romance because these two bros think we might know a thing or two. And today's episode of the podcast is all about women and romance. I will say, John,
Yeah.
I told your mom just before we started to record, uh, I said, we're going to do a podcast on women and romance. And I said, like, we know anything about it.
Hmm.
She said, well, I think you crushed that. I said, all right, then.
Whoa.
Now I got a little confidence going in here.
Yeah. Can't wait to tear you down a peg. Get
Yeah.
that in, let some air out of that big head of yours.
Yeah, really.
No, that's great. That's a huge compliment. A lot of things have changed in the world of women in romance in the last 20 years, maybe
No
longer than
kidding.
that.
Yeah, no kidding.
So we're going to talk about our four quarters as per usual. We do a four-quarter breakdown of a whole topic with some stats, some thoughts, takeaways. This week, we're talking about quarter one, the state of the game from the man's seat, man's chair. Quarter two, the state of the game from the women's chair, how things have changed, how things
Hmm.
for men, how they've changed for women. Quarter three, bridging the gap, attunement, presence, and effective communication. There we'll get into actual like initial connection
Yeah.
and even some tips. I'm a little more fresh in the game than you are on
Connecting.
dating,
Yeah. Yeah.
but not by much. Well,
Oh,
by quite a
yeah,
bit,
quite
but
a
not.
bit.
I'm just saying at a certain point, what
Yeah.
does it matter?
Yeah.
If it's been,
Well, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. Once you're
seven
out of the
years,
game, you're out of the game.
you're out of the game. That's
Yeah.
right. And quarter four, intentional love and emotional leadership, and that's more communication and long form romance and relationships.
Yeah, so kind of quarter three is getting started in your relationship and building an early relationship, whereas quarter four is about making a long lasting, keeping it fresh and real and growing for a long time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well
Yeah.
that's great. It's going to be a great episode. And by the way, we don't really like to just hear the sound of our own voices, but our episodes have been fairly lengthy. And while we have had no complaints about that, we feel a conviction to shorten them. So we're going to shorten these episodes to make it easier on people who have limited time. And we won't lengthen them until somebody says, you guys should do longer episodes. And we'll see if that ever happens, John.
Yeah, it might take more than one person because there might be one, you know, crazy psycho who's like, I want to hear more of these guys talking. It might take more than that, but yeah, we definitely want to hear more back from you guys.
Yeah, we do.
So before we jump in, instead of our manliest thing and least manly thing, we thought we'd start off this special episode with how we met our wives, how that went for us.
Yeah, it's love
Uh,
and romance week.
yeah,
So, yeah, we'll tell you how we met our lady friends and
and you first.
how dapper we were at the onset. I think, John, you have got to tell the DTR conversation. To me, that's the best story of your romance, but that's yours. That's up to you. So Sue and I were in college. She is 1 year ahead of me, and so I was a sophomore. She was a junior, and we lived in the same dorm. And we had a mutual friend who paired us up because Sue went to him and said, "I know you know this guy, and I'm interested in this guy." And so there was a weekend coming up that was called Spinster's Spree. It's the weekend
Mm,
where the girls asked the guys out because the college was trying to promote more interaction between the genders. And
sure.
so Sue asked me out on Spinster Spree weekend. We went on a quadruple date. It was Halloween weekend, and that was 45 years ago, 40 something like that. And we had the time of our lives. I think I had a better time than she did. I came home from that date and told my roommate, I just had my first date with my wife. That's how hooked I was from the start. It took her a little longer to acquire a flavor for the Jimbo,
Mhm.
but she got there, and that's how we met.
What was tell me what the activities you did on that date?
Well, we went. The girls picked us up. They brought us roses. They opened our
Oh,
doors. They took us to dinner at a place called the Wooden Nickel, which was a steakhouse in Springfield, Missouri. And ironically, we got married, several years later. And on our honeymoon, we're headed out to Branson, where we were going to honeymoon. And there in the middle of nowhere is another Wooden Nickel steakhouse. So we had our first dinner as a married couple at the same restaurant we had our first date dinner at. Anyway, so we do this
that's
steak
awesome.
dinner, and then we went to a lot of scary places. There were some places around Springfield that were supposedly scary. So we went to a place called Skull Tree. This dude had a bunch of skulls on a rope wrapped around his tree in front yard. Went down under a road where it was called Heartbeat, and you could hear, ba bump, ba bump, ba bump, but it was cars going over the bridge, and it sounded like a heartbeat. Then we went to a haunted house together, and that was about the night. I tried to, I wasn't sure I was going to kiss her at the end of the night, but when I started to stand a little closer, she said, "Hey, I had a good time," and she took off running. So there was no first night kiss.
And last question. Of the four couples on that date, how many of them stood the test of time?
Just us.
Just you. Okay.
Yeah, 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 uh, yeah. One of them turned
Okay.
out to be gay, so he didn't last.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's tough. It'd be,
yeah,
we
yeah,
won't count him. We'll say you stood out against two other couples.
yeah. Yeah, but I'm pretty proud
Hey,
of it. Okay, John, tell
good.
us, how did you meet Lindsay?
Uh, Mine actually is a little similar in some ways. So the way we actually met was just at Northwest University. There's brother and sister dorms
Hmm.
because it's not co-ed because it's a Christian school.
Yep.
So, but they kind of link them more like we're in the same building, but really it's just a cultural link.
Yeah.
So you would do shared events that where the brother sister floor come together, and it was really a cool. I loved my dorm
Hmm.
because I would eventually learn it was kind of rare how exactly close and connected we were.
Yeah.
So like a normal brother and sister floor would have like one dinner together like a month or maybe one a week, and they weren't all that well attended.
Yeah.
But just naturally, by circumstance, we all liked each other. We would have combined dinner every night in the cafeteria,
Whoa. Every
and like
night?
every night. Yeah, just because people wanted to. We just go, hey, when are you going? Okay,
Wow.
I'll
That's
do what I need
very
to do.
rare and that's very awesome.
Yeah,
That gave you a friend pond right away, super fast.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's the Ducks, the floor I was on, 500 Ducks, Semper Fives, like the closest thing to a fraternity that Northwest has.
Yeah.
Semper Fi, Duck or Die is the slogan.
Oh, yeah. That's
Uh,
really creative.
I know, and it's the smallest dorm on the entire campus by a lot,
Oh, okay.
which probably helped make
Yeah.
bonds
Better
normal.
friendships. Yeah.
Anyway, there was a brother sister floor hangout event where we watched Harry Potter in the lounge on the men's floor, the boys' floor.
Mm-hmm.
And Harry Potter, I would have later learned, is my wife's like at the time especially favorite thing in the world.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm supposed to be doing homework, and I'm lazy. I don't want to, so I go out and I didn't care about Harry Potter at the time, but so I sit down and just start roasting this movie just like for fun, just like live commentary, ripping this thing apart as best I can.
Yeah.
Um, and Lindsay was there. She had actually organized the event. And then afterwards, we all went to Taco Bell. So we all carpooled to Taco Bell,
Yeah.
whoever had a car. And Lindsay was one of the drivers. I ended up in the front seat of her car. And I think, I don't know. We probably said four words to each other. One of them was the guy in front of us in line at the drive-through had some kind of Pixar thing,
Mm.
like a bumper sticker or something. I can't remember. I made some joke about that. And then she had a really mouthy friend, a really gossipy friend, her roommate.
Yeah.
And so the next day, by the end of the next day, it comes back to me that this girl, Lindsay, kind of liked me, that she was
In
interested in
spite
me.
of you trashing her movie.
Yeah. Maybe even because of, who knows? Maybe that's like
Yeah.
you yank the girl's ponytail, whatever. Maybe it's the equivalent. but it was good because I was so socially inept that
Yes.
that kind of inside baseball was what I needed
Yeah.
uh
Yeah.
to make any
Yeah.
kind of plays.
You needed a middleman to negotiate.
Yes. So from there was a bit of hanging out. There was what I say was the similar to your what do you call it?
Spinster's spree.
Spinster spree. There was roomies was what it was called, or evening. No, it was roomies first. Was one event. They had a lot of events to get people to start dating.
Yeah.
Um, but this one was similar. It was the girls that got the guys
Yeah.
for this one this year, and Lindsay asked me out for that, and then on and on and on. So
And she brought you, I have a picture of her standing there when you come out of class or somewhere, and she's holding this white, uh, not cardboard, but what do you call poster board with this whole Star Wars themed invite. Do you remember the lines?
I don't. It was full of puns. That was kind of the way to do the
Yeah.
roomies invites was with
Oh,
puns and posters, and it was when I we went to go see Star Wars Episode 7 had just come out.
okay.
And so we went to go see that. I was away for the weekend. I would always go home for the weekend. I came back late on a Sunday. We went to a showing of the movie. Me and Lindsay were super awkward. One of the things I advocate for early daters is don't sweat it if it's awkward. Don't go, well, there's no connection there and move on.
Yeah.
Because we were really, really awkward.
Yeah. Both of you had, limited skills in that arena.
Yeah.
But her poster said, I'm Wookieing. I'm wondering if you are the date I'm Wookieing for.
The droid, no, because
The
these are not
droid.
the
Yeah.
droids you're looking for,
Yeah.
is a line
Yeah.
from episode 4.
Yeah.
Something to do with that. So uh yeah,
Anyway, it was awesome.
it was
And
great. She's the highlight of my life so far is that woman.
well, I tell you, we got to move on. But uh, when you were like 7, you told your mom, "I'm worried I'll never find a wife," and she said, "Don't worry, John. She'll find you." And that turned out to be exactly what happened. She
Yeah.
found you. She made it possible,
Now, what did
and
you always say about my future wife? Do you remember?
uh, that she died at birth. Okay, let's dive into this. The state of the game from the man chair, John.
Yeah.
So, women have changed, dating has changed. Uh, and for those who are dating right now, COVID blew up everything. There's fewer social engagements. Everything's digital. Uh, I saw a stat: 40% of young men between the ages of 17 and 24 have never asked a girl on a date face to face.
Mm.
So the game has just changed. So let's talk about the state of the game from the man chair.
Yeah, I have this to kind of preface this one. It seems especially true now, but I think it's true forever. I have a social theory,
Okay.
a theory on men and women, and it's that the chief wound of man is being unwanted, and it's kind of the naturalistic role of the man is the pursuer,
Yeah.
and the naturalistic role of the woman is the receiver. Right? That's the kind of that's how it goes. So the man is not pursued; he pursues,
Yeah.
and the woman does not pursue; she receives.
Which is
So
ironic. Both of us met our wives when they were the pursuer because of
I know.
this platform that was established to make it permissible for them to do that.
Yeah, it's true. But so the main hurt of man is to be undervalued or unpursued, and it's kind of men are the logistical fuel of civilization, right? They're the fuel of war. They're the fuel of progress. So that's kind of their natural lot, but it is also the source of our natural wound. That's my theory for that. I'll say the one for women for when we get to the women's seat.
Well,
I think especially now that seems to be true.
Yeah, I think, I hear a lot of married men say, "What do I need most from my wife? Is I need respect." And I would say disrespect is that wound. It's hitting that wound that you're describing. I'm not wanted. I'm not valued. My value's not recognized, etc. So that part of what I recognize in our current state of the world is that the trajectory of women and men are going in opposite directions. So I don't know how to do
Mhm.
this.
There
So
you go. Yeah.
women, and you have mentioned that really from the time contraception was created, uh, uh, women, that was really the start of women being able to live without a man and to have more autonomy from a man.
Mhm.
And so, culture has been advocating for women, rightfully so. They've been the most oppressed people group in the history of the world. And so, but as we've advocated for the advancement of women, they've done better in education. They've done better in their careers. They've done better, and so their trajectory is up and to the right, and has been for a while. Not to say that it has peaked and it should peak. We're not saying that at all. But conversely, the status of men has been on a steady decline. And I don't think it was the intention, certainly not of all women or of this movement, to devalue or to emasculate men. But I think men, for decades, have felt devalued, emasculated, and disempowered. And so it's interesting that we're trying to find romance and connection when when our trajectories are in opposite directions.
Hmm. Yeah, and then it's this further disconnect. Maybe the what grieves me maybe the most out of the whole crisis facing young men is this disconnect and antagonism between the two sexes. Not only is there a disparity in outcomes, but there's actually friction in that disparity. There's
Yeah.
angst, a lot of angst.
And we will say that I have three adult daughters. John has three adult sisters whose optimism about men is at an all time low.
Mm,
So, some of the complaints, and really what we want to get our arms around is encouraging men. So this is not a beatdown. This is, hey, let's tell the truth about the current state of things and find our way forward. One of the states of things, John, is the delayed adulthood of men.
mhm.
Uh, we're taking longer to do things that men did at younger ages in the past. And so that delayed adulthood affects when those relationship connections can happen in a powerful way. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, because the biblical precedent of a man will leave his father and mother and cling to his wife, and they'll be one flesh,
Mm-hmm.
and on and away, right? Like go and pursue.
Sure.
So even that, yeah, the it'd be interesting. I guess a lot of the factors that play in the delayed adulthood are economical, which we're not really going to get in for this topic. But the cultural ones, you look at maybe the opiate of entertainment,
Mm.
right? Men who are so satisfied with their entertainment or their need for or urge for connection and adventure and achievement are kind of fed uh what's one a word for fake, there's a better word for fake, but they're fed
Virtually or
synthetically with
synthetically. Yeah. Yeah.
with this entertainment. So but
Yeah. So
but
part of,
without
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, oh no, you're great. Only that without independence, right? Our whole thing here is responsibility and meaning. You can't have
Yeah.
meaning without responsibility. And
Yeah.
responsibility is key to fulfilling life. You can't have responsibility with delayed adulthood. You have to have the reins. You have to seize the reins and claim authority for your own or responsibility for your own outcomes.
Which causes you to assert yourself and succeed or fail. And so you got to pick yourself up. You got to learn. You got to bump and grind. And in the past, you would meet women in lots of different places. We have fewer of that happening. So you would have these skin your knees because you said a stupid thing or,
Yeah.
whatever. You had more opportunities. You went to college. I went to college, small schools, brother, sister floors, dorms, all that. You have a heightened proximity. And so you have the opportunity for that. So the proximity went down. We are delaying our independence, and guys are responding, I think, to this downward trend by shrinking their worlds, and so they
Mm,
are more at home, more digital, more remote, more isolated, not even connecting to each other as much as they used to. So isolation has become a pretty standard reality for young men today, and which
yeah.
then leads to another issue when we're talking about romance is men become really engaged in the uh, incredible availability of pornography
Hmm.
uh, at at no cost. I mean, you can certainly pay for it and get who knows what, but you can also stumble across all the porn you want for free, and the access to that has changed the way men's brains think about women, There's a whole lot of, and we could do a whole episode on pornography, and maybe we will at some point. But it's a significant barrier
Hmm.
to the romantic connection between a husband and his wife, or between people who are dating, if he's got a robust pornographic habit.
Well, and it's yeah, it is for the single man, it's another synthetic source of kind
Companionship,
of
or
companionship, yeah, or
yeah.
being wanted. It's kind of I think is one of the reasons why it's so um addictive to the male brain.
Hmm.
Rates of women who view porn are going up, but it's still not even close. Is because it kind of that wanted wound, that valued wound, is a way to pretend. It's a way to go into a fantasy for that. But yeah, and then in relationships itself, goodness, that's like it's just so much dysfunction.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So another bullet point, this leads us to wanting intimacy without responsibility. So we want
absolutely.
fast, let's connect, let's see each other, let's swipe left, let's swipe right, let's hook up, whatever. And so it has accelerated perhaps the sexual engagement potential of a contact, but delaying the emotional relational connection. And
Which
so,
is an exact inversion of the natural order of that relationship.
right. Yeah, that's a big challenge. And so maybe
And
the last thing I would say here, John, is that the best relationships in the world are built, they aren't found. And so a lot of guys I talk to feel like, how do I find a person? When is this going to happen to me?
mhm.
And what are the odds? What are the odds that I'm gonna suddenly, bam, there it is, love at first sight, or this spark happens. I mentioned after my first date with Sue, I went back, told my roommate I just had my first date with my wife. That kind of happened to me, and it feels like that's not happening anymore. So, am I really out of luck entirely, or what do I need to change my strategy to to make this happen?
Yeah, yeah. For mine, it was so yours was a different, basically a different world. You said 45 years ago you guys met.
Yeah.
So ours was 10. We started dating 10 years ago. So it's the same, at least the same solar system as the world we're in now. I remember like internet dating and the apps and all that was already a thing, but not this. I don't remember this level of animosity between the sexes, and this level of wariness
Hmm.
or mistrust. And now it started first with women. I would say, uh, understandably, with a lot of mistrust towards men, and then this kind of angst on the male end, this kind of incel thing. Are you familiar with that term? I don't want to
Incel?
insult you. Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Okay. Involuntarily celibate. It's
Oh, okay.
mostly a joke term for this kind of caricature of the basement dweller troll
Yeah.
who's angry at all women, hates all women because he's involuntarily celibate. But that went from like a niche joke to an actual chartable demographic of the country. So that's all new. That's a tough one for us. But I think your point of building, not finding, is absolutely correct for these relationships, and plays into our constant theme of responsibility for your own life.
And I think I know more than a handful of guys who would feel like they are involuntarily celibate, and that it feels hopeless to them.
Hmm. Yeah.
So we got to get going on building stuff. By the way, women today, top two things they value are emotional viability and economic viability, and men are decreasing in both. And so we're going to do in this month two 10-4s on economic viability, both, first of all, how to start with the state you're in, and then secondly, how to grow your economic viability. Because we really think this is a significant part of both the depression young men are facing, the idea that home ownership's a pipe dream, and will I ever have, a sustainable economic base? So,
Yeah.
so there's some things we can do there. John, what's your takeaway from this first quarter of conversation about the challenges facing men and the state of the game from the man's chair?
Well, I was going to say we should maybe have focused more on personal development for men, but that's the whole point of our whole show. So go back and check out our other podcasts and discussions, because that's our whole thing, is on developing the self. Because that is my takeaway from the state of the game from the men's chair is, of course, as per usual in the year 2026, the state for young men is hard. It is very hard and not good.
Right.
And the only way out
Through.
um, is through. Yes, great way to put it.
Yeah, and we advocate for that. And so one of the things I would say for a man who doesn't have a romantic relationship right now, and if you're married, hang in here because we're going to get into married issues as well. But if you're not in a state of connection romantically right now, my first encouragement is push pause and accept an indefinite pause on the possibility of that while you focus on self development and developing the parts of you that will offer a greater connection at any point anyway. So, because the best thing you can offer in the state of this, uh, world and to have a relationship that's going to mean the world to you is to bring the best version of yourself where you feel it. You have confidence because
Mm-hmm.
you're crushing it. You have confidence because you've developed these parts of you that are not as developed as you want them to be. And so your confidence will grow, and your confidence is a romantic draw to a
Well,
female.
and the dark side of that, we want to say because there's a conversation that sounds a lot like this, but it's a lot darker, and that's the this Andrew Tate
Mm.
becoming a millionaire and kind of running through women and trying to become this kind of alpha man fiction, this kind of distortion of masculinity. That's not what we're talking about.
We
There's
couldn't
there's
be
a
more
yeah,
opposed to that possibly in any way.
right.
We're so anti that.
Yeah. So what we're talking about really is holiness and kind of a alignment with Christ, looking more like Jesus.
Oh man, when you figure it out, and our book's coming out very soon, a week or so, and it is all about a man finding his masculinity and standing in the framework of his design, and that makes him incredibly attractive to the world and to women. So, uh, big deal. We'll be having a lot of conversations about that. Let's
Yeah.
pivot now, John, to how women would describe the state of dating and romance from their chair.
Yeah. So the other part of my theory on the sexes is man's chief wound is being unwanted or unvalued. Woman's chief wound is being wanted in an unworthy or violent way. It's the wound of the one who's being pursued, and it's either terrifying, as a lot of women would say, or it's disordered. It's being pursued for the flesh before the heart, right? As we talked about that inversion of the natural order of a romantic relationship.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I think that's and that's not new.
no,
My mother told me this is the dysfunction of my childhood. My mother told me when I was, all growing up that a man is just a walking penis. And
mm,
women have held this view that men are driven by their sex drives and that a safe man, a man who's more than that is hard to find. Some women pivot to becoming sexually attractive because they get the desire that they're looking for, but then they run into the fact that there's men women want to date, and then there's women that men want to date, and then there's women that men want to marry,
mm,
and they're not the same. And so they have this double bind of what's going on here. I have young women tell me, one of your sisters told me, that if she meets 10 guys on a dating app, she's going to get 7 dick pics.
oh my gosh,
It's a ridiculous reality that women face, and I've done a lot of interviewing of young women lately to just hear kind of how they feel about the state of the dating world. And their thing is that uh, it's that guys are like obtuse. It's like they're
mm,
cavemen, like they lack any semblance of a intelligent relational way to connect with a female.
yeah. Yeah. And part of this is, we talk about the thriving of women. Uh, this point was I had on our last quarter, but I'll bring it up here. Louise Perry, who is she's a scholar on the sexual revolution and basically the how it was a failure. It was a failed human reality. And she says she has a bunch of interviews. She's written a great book, and she has a bunch of interviews with Glenn Scrivener on YouTube. You can look up Glenn Scrivener, Louise Perry. They've got great conversations. But she says that the sexual revolution was bad for everybody except the highest performing men. So you would think, well, look at women now have all this agency and they're high earning. but relationally, it was now what did it take before the sexual revolution for a man to be gratified sexually? He had to commit.
Yeah.
He had to actually pledge himself or be pledged at the other end of a shotgun
Hmm.
to a wedding, to a marriage,
Yeah.
right? To a woman. And now there is no, all of that responsibility we're talking about is completely sacrificed in favor of an autonomous, no strings attached sexual economy. And so the only people that win that are this, again, we've talked about this distorted masculine
Yeah.
Andrew Tate abomination. So even so for women, the state of the game from the women's chair is they are also victims of the sexual revolution. They may be the number one victim of the sexual revolution.
Yeah. And meanwhile, they have this upward mobility that's going on where they're winning in a lot of ways in the world. And it's a disconnect because guys are going the opposite way. They're winning less. And so I've got a quote from your from your sister. She said, "Dad, men are no longer needed, and they don't know how to be wanted." And she said, "We want to want them really badly." And so her you know cry is, "Help us want you."
That's funny.
And so guys have got to figure this out because women, while they are flourishing, it's not like they don't want relationships with men. They actually do. I saw this. There's an Instagram guy, John N. Darte. I don't know how if I'm pronouncing that right, but anyway, one of your sisters sent me this video of his, and he's an Indian guy with this thick flowing mane of hair like a lion, and so his Indian accent's really funny, which makes this even funnier. But he said this. I kind of I wrote it all down as I was watching it. Women became the men they were waiting for. She's emotionally available, financially stable, communicates clearly, and shows up on time while he's still working on himself since 2019. She plans her life, pays her bills, handles stress, heals her trauma, and still has the capacity to care for another human being. Meanwhile, Romeo's like, "I'm not a good texter." She wanted partnership, but she got responsibility. She wanted support. She became the support system. Half of these women didn't lose interest in men, they just lost patience with them, and they don't have the patience to babysit. They're not asking for perfection. They're not asking for riches. They're just asking for a man that can master the basics that she has mastered. Because once she becomes the man she needed, dating seems less dating someone feels like charity and she's done donating. So that's like the really harsh view to word all this, but I think that is inherently the challenge. I hear from young women, it's hard to find a guy who's mastering the basics, who knows who he is, who knows the struggles he's processed, who knows how to have an intelligent conversation, who shows curiosity about her, and who can engage with her on a highly functional level, not riches, not, world famous, whatever, just functional, just really healthily functional.
Yeah. So then what is a lot of that was kind of numbers. So if it's there's functional mental health wise,
Yeah.
but uh that earning factor, do you think that's a big part of it? Is it a real economic uh um rock in this?
I would say I don't know a single young woman who's holding her breath that a provider is going to come along
Mm,
and hook his wagon to her. She is fully convinced she's going to provide for herself for the rest of her life. So that's a big deal. I mean, in some way, that lowers the bar of how much money a man needs to make to be viable, because she's not looking for him to be her coattail wagon to sugar mama future,
sure.
but a kept woman. They're not looking to be kept women.
Mm,
Um, and so that's an interesting dilemma because part of that can be intimidating. There are lots of marriages now, relationships now, where the woman out earns the man. I don't think that's a challenge to the woman. It might be a challenge to the man, but this is the world we're in, that they're not sitting around going, "My economic life will improve once I have a guy in my life." They're not thinking that way at all.
yeah. Well, and this is tough because I can only speak from one half of the perspective here. But the truth is, a lot of men and the women that I've talked to, they're trying to build before they get married. It's okay. Well, I'll
Right.
try and get a good career going and get a maybe even get a house before marriage to kind of lay the groundwork. But the truth is, you should build all that together. The
Yeah.
sooner you can come together and build that, the better. And yeah, women are in the workforce now. They were working before all of this change in the home. The home used to have an economic potential that it no longer does. They were keeping gardens, or they were,
Yeah.
providing actual. Again, McMurtry mentioned Larry McMurtry in his memoir. He talks about his grandparents' lives and how there was a market in town, but if they bought anything consumable, they said anybody who buys like groceries is an idiot. They said you should be growing all your own sustenance and only going to the store for
Right.
things you can't produce yourself. That world is gone. The world we live in now, you have to buy stuff. So the the equation, the effort equation, is still, it has not really changed. It just looks different because now they're in the workforce instead of staying at home and producing goods that way.
Well, and your notion that we're supposed to build this together. I find my life partner, we acquire a home, we build our future together. Well, you've everything's delayed.
Mm,
So now I'm not even finding her till I'm 30, 31, 32, 37. So that changes everything. I'm not going to sit around and wait to acquire a home until then.
right.
So that delay is a huge part. And we've kind of focused our whole thing on dating at this point, but we're talking about attraction and uh, the challenges a guy has to finding a woman who's attracted to him and connecting to her, and then also the woman feeling like the pond is thin,
Mhm.
um, and even though it's thin, what I want, she would say, is strength and confidence and responsibility, which are incredibly irresistible and apparently incredibly rare.
Mm,
And so she wants to feel safe. She wants to feel connected before she feels attraction. So women are more open. I would say this: women are more open to men that aren't the knight in shining armor, super sexy, good looking guy. They're not captivated by good looks as much as they used to be. They're not captivated by hot rods or whatever. They are drawn to maturity. A lot of women are dating older men for this reason. They're drawn to maturity. They're drawn to safety. They're drawn to stability and confidence. And so
yeah.
they're learning to be cautious, and their cautiousness has become now an obstacle a guy has to overcome to connect to her.
Well, yeah. Think about if my social theory is correct, and their main wound is kind of a danger, a sense of danger from being pursued. Then yeah, obviously, especially in this romantic economy, safety is huge. Safety is one of the top factors in these relationships, especially when your means are non-relational. If your means are digital, so we met our wives through
Right.
physical exposure, and kind of you that kind of plays out a lot more naturally than I
Yeah.
see you on the meat market that is digital dating apps, and you just select somebody, a perfect stranger,
Yeah.
and you have to just trust in that. That's a terrifying
I can't even
scenario.
imagine that. Yeah.
So
So,
safety there is
yeah.
like is maybe the number one commodity. And there's a way that is fake. There's a version of that that is kind of
Sure.
feckless and people pleasing. That's not really what we're talking about. It's more of a handle on your appetites, and treating a woman like a human.
So in some ways, this to me is good news for men. In in years past, how do I attract a woman? I got to be good looking. I got to be in shape. I got to, blah 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 blah. I got to present this resume. And now, how do I connect to a woman? I demonstrate that she is safe in my presence. I demonstrate that I am not a threat. I demonstrate that I'm emotionally whole and that I can receive from her and contribute to her, but I don't need her to find my identity.
Hmm.
You know, she wants not to feel rushed or pressured or unsafe. She wants a slow, cooked meal in the relationship world. So tone and pacing and patience, and it's not a race, and it's not doesn't have to be hurried, and I don't have to wow her. I have to demonstrate over time safety, maturity, viability. I think in
Mhm.
some ways that's a game I feel like I could get to better than maybe the old day. I don't know. What are your
Yeah, or at
thoughts?
least
Yeah,
the one of those is a lot more out of your hands than the other. You
that's
can
true.
beautify
Yeah,
yourself to an extent,
yeah,
and certainly I would say hygiene's very important in the world still today.
yeah,
But the other ones, yeah, the matters of your character are so much more within your sphere of influence.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to call this halftime, John, and we're going to pivot now to once I have a relationship, how do I grow romance and connection within that relationship, both in the early phases of it in quarter three and in the long term phases of it with quarter four. So stick around here if you already have a relationship, or if you want to hear more, you don't have a relationship yet, but you'd like to hear this because this is very helpful in connecting male with female uh, at every level. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So before we do that, John, it is book recommendation time. So let's really quickly, we both are going to recommend books that contribute to Valentine's Day and relationships. So, John, you go first this time.
Yes, as we get into actual established relationships, this is a book. I will admit I've not read the whole thing. I read the parts that I needed to read because really needed to read them. And with nonfiction, I think that's more okay.
Yeah.
But this is Boundaries in Marriage by doctors Henry Cloud and John Townsend. Henry Cloud I'd be comfortable calling him a genius, a relational genius.
I would absolutely be comfortable with that.
He is what is he, a psychiatrist by trade? Is that his
He is. He's a clinical
yeah.
psychiatrist.
So he has a book on boundaries that he wrote before this, and then he wrote one entirely on boundaries within marriage, which is really helpful for me because I just go by extremes by so much that I really viewed marriage, the one flesh thing. I was like, what is a boundary in marriage? The whole point is
Mm.
that there are no boundaries. And that led, as you can imagine, to a lot of conflict and kind of toxic, yucky stuff. So that I'm still working with. I only read this book less than a year ago.
Yeah.
But it was super, super helpful to find where the physical separation is between a husband and wife, and that's not a failure of intimacy. So it's been great. It's been really, really probably the most actually tactically helpful book for my relationship that I've ever read. The other yours I'm really excited about, but it was more kind of 10,000 feet kind of thing.
Yeah. So I would say, John, about your book is we're always learning. So this is another part about romance and women. It is okay that you're not perfect, and
Mm,
it is okay that you're continuing to learn. In fact, being hungry to continue to learn and grow is a very sexy thing to a woman. It's very attractive. So, way to go to keep growing that. Henry's got books on boundaries for leaders and boundaries for all kinds of things. So it's just really great stuff. In fact, I see behind me over my shoulder is his original book on boundaries.
nice.
But the the ongoing learning of where she ends and where you begin, and what parts are we connected and one without being enmeshed and lost, those are all really significant things, and they're tactically very critical. So
Absolutely.
great book. My book is Tim Keller, The Meaning of Marriage, and his wife helped him write this. She wrote one chapter, I think, in there with him, but she comments periodically. This book, I would say, is the best book I have ever read on the subject of marriage. And the reason I love it is because it is a framework, biblical framework, that helps you understand the biblical principles of how a man and a woman become one, and what even the meaning of marriage is, and what it was designed to do, and how to live out that design. I love this book. It is framework, not tactic. So you get a lot more tactical help from a book like Boundaries for Marriage. But man, it's incredible. I try to give one to every premarital couple that I participate with anymore.
And for the single people listening, Tim Keller, he says he was surprised in that book. He was surprised when he was when his church was growing in Manhattan that he kind of attracted this large single population, this
Mm-hmm.
young single population. So he talks about singleness throughout, and he has one chapter all about singleness that is really really good. So
Mm-hmm.
recommend for that too.
Yeah, great book. And he did pastor. He's passed away now, but he pastored in New York City, Manhattan, uh, 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 probably 2,000 young adults as a part of the church. So very immersed in their world and understanding their culture. So
Yeah.
great resource. All right, now we're going to go into quarter three, John. We're going to talk about bridging the gap, and that romance is less about impressing and more about being present, attentive, and aware.
Yeah, the talking about in metaphysical economies, the economy of relationships is presence is the gold. It's a gold bar. Like presence and like, well, I guess there are no other words for it. Being present, having your mind on the moment
Mm-hmm.
and on the person speaking or that you're speaking to is incredibly valuable and rare in today's kind of digital moment.
I I notice couples when I'm at a restaurant or a coffee shop, and I'm shocked how many of them sit there, both of them staring at their phones. And if I see married couples sitting there eating in silence, drinking their coffee in silence, not even talking to each other, romance is about dialing in. It's about eye contact. It's about I see you. I want to know you more. It's about I want to understand you. These are incredibly romantic things. We probably ought to talk about, at least for a moment, the difference between romance and sex, because I think for a
Mm.
lot of men, when they think about romantic moments with their wife, they're thinking about sexual activity. And a guy can have sex without romance. A woman is less likely to be able to have an enthusiastic sex life without romance. And a man needs to have romance in his life that's not sexual contact. So they are separate items. Um, so I think
Yeah,
that's,
the
yeah.
well, just that the there was another book on this that we were recommended that I never got around to reading, but it was basically as good of a recommendation as that is. Men and women think differently. That for men there's like a cell, a like think of like an Excel spreadsheet. There's a cell for every different thing, and
Mm-hmm.
for women, all those walls are perforated. It's all kind of moving and related all at the same time. So those delineations that man, if you're listening, might think is there for you is not necessarily there for the finer sex.
I was hanging out with, I think there were 14 of us, all married people. And one of the women said, "Hey, you have uh, a, a tool chest or, with all these compartments in it." She said, "We have junk drawers and everything's in there." And so everything's overlapping and connected. Uh, so what we're talking about is being present and being connected. Women carry heavy mental and emotional loads. Here's just one example.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
if the man who's with her does not see that, uh, express gratitude or admiration for that, that's just one simple way to really connect to your lady friend, is to see the life that she's living, the load that she's carrying, the emotions that she's experiencing. And in the 1024 this week, we put a couple of links in there that'd be helpful to you. One's a great video you'll want to watch, but uh, the reality is, uh, my daughters tell me that when they spend time with guys, they never talk about themselves. They're always talking about the guys. And
Mm.
it's very easy for a guy to do that. He's going to talk about the things that he knows something about. He's going to talk about his world. And so a big part of attuning and connecting together is to see her, to acknowledge her, to understand her, to admire her, to have curiosity toward her about how she feels and what her life is like and how she's growing and how she's challenged. This is solid gold in a romantic relationship.
Well, and this your quote for this I think is amazing. I brought it up further up in the outline, but it was already in the 1024 if you guys have read that already. From David Augsburger. Was
Yeah.
that his name? How you
Yeah.
say it?
Yeah.
Feeling heard is so close to feeling loved that for the average person they are almost indistinguishable. I
That
think
is,
that's amazing.
it is. And that is solid, solid gold. So, John, when you think about this, do you have some practical tips for guys who are not in a relationship right now and maybe don't even have prospects for one?
Yeah.
How does this inform any help for that guy?
Well, so this is one beyond prospects. If you're
Okay.
in the
Yeah.
void
Yeah.
right now, then this is helpful. I mean, for this is honestly helpful for platonic relationships too, presence of mind and listening.
Yeah.
This is just again we're talking about personal formation as a means of romantic influence, I guess. To
Hmm.
again to word it kind of grossly, but um the communication skills here, the skill of listening. You know, one of my you talked about men talking about themselves too much. I thought about this. If you like, you're in a conversation and you can either speak or you can listen. Everything you know, you already know, and most of the things they know, you don't know.
That's true.
So if
Yeah.
you're like playing this like if you're like playing this like a robot, you're trying like to win a conversation. It would behoove you to speak almost not at all,
Yeah.
because you gain nothing from speaking. You gain
Well, and,
everything from
and
listening.
anything you do say should have a question mark at the end of it.
Yeah, that's another great rule.
Yeah.
So because it actually serves you better to learn. You don't what do you get from saying stuff you already know? It didn't teach you anything. It just made you feel smart.
Yeah.
So
And, one of the notorious tropes about this is that women do not want you to solve their problem. They want you to hear about their problem.
right.
And so part of that is, listening without problem solving and being fully present in the moment. And for the guy who's not got a relationship right now, this is part of the work on yourself so that you're ready when relationships come, is the ability to be curious about other human beings,
Yeah.
dudes or chicks, to be noticing, seeing, affirming, uh, to express curiosity, to pay attention, to see them, to be in the moment, even just there, being in the moment you're in, a work
Yeah.
moment or a sports moment, or to really savor the moment. These are all self awareness and mental awareness things that greatly uh, bring asset and value to your relationships.
Yeah. My takeaway from this section, we call this, bridging the gap, but with men and women. The the pressure. So I won't go as far as to say the pressure is not real,
Mm-hmm.
but when you're in the moment, the pressure's off. So like what I should define terms. When I'm talking romantic pressure, you're late in life. Say you're 30, you're nearing 30, you're after 30, and you're still not married, or maybe you've never had a relationship, and you feel like time's against you, the world's moving on without you, you missed the boat,
Mm-hmm.
and so you got to really hustle. That pressure in the moment doesn't really exist. It's a macro pressure, but when you're really, that it's like anxiety. The future doesn't really exist yet. You feel the weight of it, but it's not real yet.
Yeah.
So being in the moment in these relationships, when you're talking to anybody, but for the sake of this conversation, you're talking to a woman, and you might think I have to. You had a great line in here about not being impressive. Romance is less about being impressive, more about being present. I think you already read that one, but this kind of pressure to perform, to impress, to draw people
Mm-hmm.
in, and that is so self defeating, right? That kind of
Yeah.
desperation
Yeah.
is so obvious and unattractive. So really this is twofold, as with almost anything. The actual virtue here is good for your soul, and it is attractive and beneficial for your relationships. Those are both true at the same time. But if you try and just do the other one, you're jeopardizing everything.
Yeah. That's great. I think my takeaway from this whole thing, the way I would sum up this part of the conversation, is that it's about being fully engaged with the other. And so I have a saying that helps me stay here is that with one tiny exception, the world's made up entirely of others.
Mm,
You're the tiny exception. And so don't make it all about you. And so these being present, these small consistent acts over time build a grand response of connection and love. I used to really suck at this, and so I would neglect Sue in these ways of being present, being aware, knowing what load she's carrying, acknowledging her in these ways, and then I would try this big romantic gesture, and it would just be it would do the opposite. Instead of attracting her to
right.
me, it would infuriate her that I could ignore her for all these blocks of time and then think that one grand gesture was going to woo her back to me. And
Yeah.
so, really, guys, the message is consistent presence. And that doesn't mean the absence of conflict, because conflict avoidance is an intimacy killer. So
Hmm.
it doesn't mean you can't have conflict. It means that you're fully present, seeing her, hearing her, curious about her, is a powerful, powerful um, aphrodisiac is the word that comes to my mind. But we're not even talking about getting her in the bedroom. We're just talking about connecting to her.
Yeah. Yeah. That's hilarious. Bringing up conflict, I think, is a great segue into quarter four. Uh, I think more and more I learned that long-term relationship success is conflict success. That navigating
Mm.
conflict healthily is almost the entire thing. So
Yeah,
quarter four is intentional love and emotional leadership, the long game.
yeah.
What
To
were you?
be
Sorry to
to
cut you off.
yeah, no, to be the emotional leader,
Mm,
that's a foreign idea right there. But man, if a man can become the emotional leader in his relationship, that is, well, that's the Olympics. Now you're a gold medalist. I
mm,
would I would say. And so I love, John, that conflict is the pathway to intimacy. We think conflict is a threat. But one thing that hit me lately, we're reading through this Bible reading plan at our church, and it hit me that the world population only had to reach the number of two before conflict arose. And so you're not going to have a relationship without conflict. It's
yeah.
impossible. And so conflict is actually a pathway to intimacy rather than a barrier to it. Poorly navigated conflict hurts relationships, but conflict well navigated is actually an incredible relationship builder. And this becomes emotional intelligence and emotional leadership by the male to be able to initiate that kind of intentional, emotional, communicative leadership in the relationship. And
Yeah. And
that may sound to you like, whoa, 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 you're overwhelming me. So let's break it down a little bit, John. What were you going to say?
well, I was only going to say that the point about presence and being in the moment, every conflict is an opportunity to opportunity for further connection.
Yeah.
So when you're not in the moment and you want to just get to what you're worried about or get to the other thing, or this is an interruption, you had a plan for the day and all of a sudden you're in conflict. The way to when you're out of the moment, you think, I will disconnect here to cut this short. So
Mm.
every conflict, you have two options: disconnect or connect. And most of the time, for the sake of time or mental anguish, you'll just disconnect. You'll say yes, dear, and you'll
Mm.
just however quickly. I'll speak for myself because I've realized that I'm not always normative in things, but this is how I navigate conflict. Is the easy way out is whatever I got to say to wrap this up, and that's disconnection. That's fake. That's building
Every
up
guy
walls.
in the world knows exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, good.
Man, how many times have I thought, what do I have to do right now to make this end? I just
Right.
want out of it. And I would say, I've said forever, the biggest enemy of parenting is laziness. And the
Mm,
biggest enemy of healthy marriages and relationships is laziness, because it
for
takes
sure.
so much energy to do this well, and you got to stay engaged. It feels like this is going to take hours, and the truth is, when you really engage, it's shocking how fast you can make progress if you're all in the moment and you're not watching your watch and you're not saying, "Oh, it's only a commercial. I need to get back to the show." Or halftime's almost over, the game's going to come back, or whatever it is.
Hmm.
My goodness, man, you got to unplug and pay attention. And this is part of when we say emotional leadership coming from the guy. Uh, let's talk about that for a second. That means you can
Yeah.
set the tone. That means you can name the emotions that are being felt. That means you can move toward hard conversations. You can lean in. One of the things that mystified me early in my marriage is Sue would be kind of letting me have it in my terms uh, about her frustrations. And then
Mhm.
she would be disappointed that I wouldn't walk over and hug her. And I'm like, you're the porcupine shooting quills at me. And I never occurs to me that the porcupine wants a hug. Uh, but the reality is, she was wanting connection, and expressing her needs and her frustrations was an effort to gain the connection she desperately wanted. And all I
Mm,
saw it as was an attack that I needed to get behind a shield from. And so that's not leading the emotional environment, that's running from it and
yeah.
seeking shelter and saying that thing, how fast can I get out of this? What do I got to say? Just tell me, give me the words. I've even said to her, tell me what you want me to say and I'll say it. Uh,
I'm sure that went really, really
yeah.
well.
And that's abdicating your leadership in the emotional role
Yeah.
rather than taking it.
Yeah. And this, the virtue of fairness, right? Fairness is a good thing. But in a marriage, it's not that it's not good. It's that nobody can see clear enough to know what the scoreboard really is anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, yes, it's good for fairness to exist in a marriage, but neither of you even knows what that is because you're both of your personal scoreboards are so far off what's probably true. That's
Neither
not
of
even
you.
worth,
Yeah. You're
yeah,
not even accurate. And the saying I love is the person who says they'll meet you halfway is a terrible judge of distance.
always.
And you think you're meeting halfway and you're not even close to halfway there. And it can happen to her too. So the whole 50-50 thing is a terrible idea. A
Yeah.
marriage and a relationship or whatever, they're not 50-50. They are 100-100. You're
Yeah.
both all in or the thing isn't balanced.
And in the masculinity we're talking about, which is biblically informed, even if you could see the perfect scoreboard, it shouldn't be 50-50 if we believe in male leadership.
Yeah.
It should be 55-45. It should be 70-30. You should be the lead sufferer and lead owner of the hurts and responsibility of the home anyway.
I call it 80-20. I tell a
Yeah.
guy, if you're not willing to be in an 80-20 marriage where you give 80, get 20, then go get a dog. Because not because you're going to be given 80 all the time, but you are so bad at awareness, you're going to think you're
Mm,
given 80 and you're going to think she's given 20. So you better get comfortable with an 80-20 relationship or you ain't going to make it. And even make that your goal. I want to outgive. I want to out
mm.
sacrifice. I want to outserve. And now you're building something because conflict is not what ends romance over time. Neglect does. So once you're afraid of all this or you don't want to spend the energy to get it, you start neglecting the relationship. And that is the romance killer. That is the kryptonite to romance. That's the what's the drug, John, that people take in Shakespeare days to kill themselves?
Oh, I don't know. I have no
Uh
idea.
dang it. That
Like
whatever.
Romeo and Juliet, they
Yeah, what
take
do
a
they take? What
poison.
do they take?
I have no clue, man. I'm sorry.
You're my
I let you
literary
down.
guy,
I
man.
know. I know.
Wow, I
I dropped
thought
the
you
ball.
were I thought you were a Renaissance man.
I Nope. I just read westerns and vampire books, I guess.
Well, let's break down the essence of this segment, John.
Yeah.
And obviously we can go on for hours on these conversations, and we have a town hall coming up last Thursday night of February. So if you guys want to do that, we'll spend more time that night talking about this. But give me your summary of this long, having connection and romance over a long span of time. Uh,
Yeah,
what's what's your summary here?
you used a word in the outline, repair. For some
Mm,
reason it stood out like a big neon sign, repair. Because we think, again, for me, I think I went into marriage thinking that any damage to the unit of marriage, to any damage to the idea or to the relationship is catastrophic.
mm,
That is such bad news.
mhm.
It's like you get a new car. Imagine a world where people run into you all the time. Imagine a world where it's normal to get in fender benders. Like I think it's more normal in like Indonesia. Just imagine that that's the state of things. And
Right.
you get a new car and someone sideswipes you because that's the rule. That's the way it goes. And you go, how did this happen? How could this possibly happen? That's basically what it's like to go into a marriage thinking that any conflict is bad,
Yeah.
because conflict is I would, yeah, necessary is a good word for it, and inevitable. So repair becomes key. One, treating it as a means of connection and not disconnection, and being
Mhm.
present. That's all a way to navigate conflict. But repair, you use the word here, in repair, staying engaged, calm, and respectful during tension, and then maybe after action kind of conversations. I love those. I love those way more than the actual fight. Kind of
Yeah.
going, what was going on there? Now that our heads are cool,
Yeah.
sometimes that leads into another fight, but not all the time.
Yeah.
Repair is like, I think, I don't know, it's the exact opposite end of the coin of conflict, and because conflict is so certain,
Mhm.
repair is also important.
Well, I'm going to recommend a little book here that I bet I've given 50 copies of this book away. It's called Crucial Conversations. It's a little bitty book. You can read it in 2 hours, and it is incredible genius on how to have a conversation is considered crucial when the emotions are high, the opinions are diverse, and the stakes are significant. Now you've got yourself a crucial conversation. So if you
Mm,
become skilled in those, it's incredible. My summary of this whole thing right now would be that I have talked to, and 40 years of ministry, I've talked to hundreds of married women whose frustration in their marriages are that they feel unseen, they feel
mm,
unnoticed, they feel unappreciated, they feel like their husband has no curiosity about them, no desire to know them, no desire to walk with them. They are alone. They feel entirely alone. So I would argue that curiosity, verbal affirmation, when you give verbal affirmation and connection, that is gasoline on the romance fire because she feels seen, she feels cared about, she feels known, and so that's true if you're married 40 years or 40 minutes. That is the whole game, I think, in romance. And conflict is wrapped into that because I see you, I'm curious about you, I want to know
mm.
you, and so the principles apply really in that same deal.
That's amazing. I agree.
All right,
All right, I want to talk about real quick our book as we
yeah,
head out
let's
of
do
here.
that as we wrap up.
Our book is called "The Beginning and End of Masculinity: An Owner's Manual." It's got, in my opinion, an incredible cover design. That's the most important part of any book, by my good friend Richard. And you, Dad, provided this outline. You flew on this thing. I don't know even where it came from. I would have, to speak highly of ourselves, I would call it almost divine inspiration.
Mm.
This thing flew out of you, and I'm really impressed by it. I've loved helping you write it. And basically, it breaks down the 5 roles of men in biblical masculinity, uh, and it's going to be amazing. It'll cost $10, and it'll be out in a week.
Yeah, and we're going to sell it $10 on our website in e-book form, and it'll be, I think, $15 on Amazon if you want a paperback form. And so we're going to try to make it available. We're also producing a leader's guide for guys who want to bring groups of men together. And there's resources on how to facilitate a great men's group, how to recruit guys, how to do that, and then actual conversations to have through this content to have a great, because man, men grow better together. So we're really excited about it. We hope you'll jump in on it. All of our inner circle partners and our Patreon partners get the book for free. And so we're excited to give that to you. We're also talking about doing a webinar for guys who want to lead groups and walk through that content together. So watch for that as well.
It's going to be great. Thank you guys so much for listening. We are just so grateful for your time. And if you would love to, this is a free resource. We want to equip young men and people that love them. But if you want to support the mission, Patreon's the number one way to do that. You can find us at patreon.com/Jim and John. And again, if you do the $10 a month, you get a free ebook version of all of our ebooks as they come out, just going forward. So
Yep. We're grateful. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you soon.